Hello, and welcome back. This is the Hire Me podcast live stream. Every Friday, you can find us here on LinkedIn and YouTube at 10 a.m. Pacific. I get to say that first because I'm on the West Coast. And 1 p.m. or 1 p.m. Yeah, 1 p.m. Eastern time. My name is Chrislyn, and with me, as always, is my wonderful co-host, Heather Balcerek. Heather, how's it going?
What's up? Hey, it's going good today. I'm very excited to be here. I'm excited about our guest. Um, it's Friday. I'm just excited all the way around. So
Yeah.
let's
Yeah,
just
we
go.
were just saying right before we hit live, we're like Friday is like this is like the thing that we look forward to all week, and on Fridays we look at our schedules. We're like, yes, we get to record a podcast today. So we are really excited to bring on our guest. But before we do that, this is your quick reminder to hit like, subscribe, follow, all of the things, because here on the Hire Me podcast, we are elevating today's top talents to make sure that people are getting hired for the roles that align for them. All right. Our guest today, Heather, I found her on LinkedIn, and she's going to talk to us about how to get noticed on LinkedIn. And guess what? That's how I found her. This is Anna Lakatkova. She is one of the top voices on LinkedIn as a top resume writing voice. She also has a YouTube for career tips. She has been featured on Forbes, on LinkedIn News. So she has done all of the things to get noticed, and she is going to help you get noticed as well. Anna Lakatkova, welcome to the Hire Me podcast.
Hey guys, thank you so much for such a wonderful intro. I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, let's just dive in. I mean, getting noticed on LinkedIn is something that I think a lot of people are nervous about. I actually just got off of a call 30 minutes ago, and they're like, I'm just afraid to put myself out there. Like, just starting from the basics, the foundations, like if you're helping someone get noticed, like what are the things that they need to know?
I think there are so many different misconceptions about what LinkedIn is really about and how you stand out on there that people confuse it with a lot of different things, but not really what LinkedIn is about sometimes. And the number one thing that you need to understand if you want to get noticed is, why do you want to get noticed in the first place? Like, what's the end goal? So if it's finding a job, then okay, that's a great goal, except for the fact that that goal is extremely generic and abstract. So if you are looking for a role, what kind of role, in which industry? And you need to be as specific and as targeted as possible to understand why you're on LinkedIn in the first place. And if you're someone who is already employed, for example, and you just want to build a stronger network or a stronger online presence for new connections, to get invited to speak at conferences, whatever that is, to build a community, it's important to understand what your goals are, because that would greatly affect pretty much everything you do on LinkedIn. And I do believe that when you have a goal, you'll find a way to get there. But a lot of people are just randomly trying to wing it just because it seems to be like the thing that everybody's doing. So I'm going to get on it. But that's how you lose interest very, very quickly. Because if you don't know why you're doing something in the first place, like what's the point of doing it long-term, consistently and regularly?
Yeah. I mean, so you are a top LinkedIn voice for resume writing and for being on LinkedIn. Now, just real quick to go back to like your own point, what was your goal as you got started on LinkedIn? Like what were you trying to build for yourself?
So I had a couple different goals, but the number one goal was to build a community in my industry. Because when I started with career coaching and resume writing and all of that career related work, I didn't know too much about the industry, to be honest with you. I just knew that I had value to offer to people and they seemed to be getting results out of it, but it was nowhere near the scale or the level of work that I imagined for myself. And I was like, okay, I need to get connected with some people who are doing this type of work, who are doing it better than me and have been doing it longer than me, just to understand like what's happening, how are things going, and how does this industry work. So that was my number one priority, to build a network, and not just an artificial network where I would have like a number of followers that would be nice to say out loud, but actual quality connections that I know I can rely on, or I can go to for questions, for help, for support, whatever that is. So that was my number one goal. And the second goal was to build a personal brand, because when you work for yourself, and actually, even if you work for someone, you always have a brand that is you. And there is something about you that that would be different and unique, and that would actually be worth sharing with people. But for me, like I said, I was just getting started in the industry. Nobody knew me. I knew nobody. So I really had no other option but to become visible. And back then, I had no idea that I would actually enjoy the process. I was so focused on the result that I thought, okay, this is what I need to do. Everybody's online. If I don't exist online, I just don't exist, period. So I need to get on it. And then I started learning more about what it actually takes to get there, and what it actually consists of on a daily basis. Not all of it was super fun and enjoyable 100% of the time, but I did see so much value in doing it. And I liked different parts of it. I like the fact that it's a non-linear path. So there is no like, you do X, Y, Z, and this will happen. So there is none of that stuff. It's a very non-linear story, and it seemed like a really cool adventure. So I'm happy that I got started a few years ago, and I'm happy that I'm still continuing.
Oh, we found that mute button. Oh, well, I mean, I'm fascinated by this. Like, I'm over here taking notes. So sorry if I was looking away. I was like, where's my sticky? I need a sticky so I can take notes here. So when we think about like a job seeker, right? Somebody that's trying to find a job, maybe they've been on LinkedIn, but not like super consistent. Like, what's one of the like first couple of things that they can do to kind of start to turn this around and really start to get noticed on LinkedIn as they're looking for a new role?
Yeah, that's a great question, because getting started is always the hardest part, really. I would say that the number one step is to optimize the profile, because that would be your first impression. That would be how people would decide whether they want to connect with you, partner with you for any kind of work, hire you, interview you, whatever that is. So that is truly, like, I've heard this quote a long time ago, and I love using it. It's like your digital handshake in the professional world. Like, that's what your LinkedIn profile is. So it needs to be very targeted. Again, if the profile is a little bit of everything, perception wise, it pretty much means a whole lot of nothing. Even though that may not be true in reality, but that's how perceptions work. And whether we like it or not, we do live in a world of first impressions. It doesn't mean that that's all we care about. Obviously not, especially if, a company wants to hire somebody long term. They want that person to align with their values, and they are truly interested in making this a long term thing. Obviously, we'll go way beyond the surface, but the surface is what triggers us to initiate that conversation. So you got to make sure that from your profile, it's crystal clear who you are, what you bring to the table, and what it is that you're after. And it doesn't mean that you need to say, I am looking for this type of role. That doesn't mean that. It just means that you're focused around the skill set and how you position yourself, how you market your experience. So that's one thing. And essentially that means turning your LinkedIn profile from a very stale and kind of dull resume type thing into more of a marketing instrument. So incorporating some of the principles of marketing yourself as if you are a product. That's the first thing. And the second thing that I would do if I were to look for a job, I would become as proactive as I can on LinkedIn, trying to connect with the companies and the people that hopefully one day I might want to work for. Because one of the biggest things on LinkedIn is that a lot of people, even who take care of their profile and they optimize it, and then they kind of okay, this looks great. I'm just going to sit back now, chill, and let people come to me because I'm so amazing here. Doesn't work. Tried it. No, doesn't work. So you gotta reach out to people, and you gotta show LinkedIn, again, because there's a certain algorithm behind the platform. You gotta show LinkedIn that you are actively using it, and the more active you are, the more actual LinkedIn will be like, let me help this guy or this gal because she or he is active here, so maybe I can do something. Maybe they can show up in more search results. Maybe I can show them more suggestions of companies they should follow, because now I know what kind of companies they followed in the past. So really, it's about, like, you got to put in some value to get some value out of it. So it's an exchange, and that's what a lot of people get stuck on. They're like, oh, but recruiters don't reach out to me. Why am I not getting noticed? Well, if you simply have a profile up, that's not enough to get noticed. It's actually what you do with that profile that is going to get you noticed.
Yeah, I think that that's such a important piece, and something that I learned, right, is beyond just posting, right? Beyond engaging in LinkedIn by just posting, is how you interact with other people and other companies, right? Is that piece actually boosts your own engagement and tells the algorithm, the amazing algorithm or whatever, like that you are someone that is using the platform and working to build its own engagement, which in turn, as you said, putting value in to give value out. So what are some of the things that you do maybe on a daily basis that help you build that value? What is that value that you put in? What are some of the actions that you take?
Well, first of all, I constantly take care of my profile. So once again, it brings us back to your profile is a living thing that changes as you change, or as your work life changes. So it's okay to make regular tweaks, to try different things, see what works and see what doesn't work for you. And if something worked for one person, may not necessarily work for someone else. So I constantly keep track of those things, and I've changed my profile, I would say, every couple months. Something on there changes, be it the wording, be it a certain section of my profile. Something gets updated because my life changes, and so should my LinkedIn profile. The second thing that I do is I follow people who I genuinely like because of what they share on this platform. And that also changes over time. So there are some things that I used to like maybe 5 years ago that I don't like so much now, and the other way around. And so I find it extremely resourceful platform, because the more I engage with it, the more it only shows me the stuff that I actually care about. And that's the other thing that I've heard from a lot of people and clients that I've worked with. They're like, I'm scrolling through this news feed and there is garbage there. Like, I don't see any value. What's up? Like, I just leave LinkedIn and I think that it's pointless. But that's the thing. In my case, it took a while for LinkedIn to get what it is that I actually like, and what the algorithm will show more of. So that took some time. And you gotta teach the algorithm what you want to see. That's the only way how it will know. It's not a mind reader. So it obviously tracks some of your behavior, but you got to interact to be able to show that. So I do that on a daily basis. If I see something I like, randomly or not, be it someone who I regularly follow and engage with, or maybe it's just someone I saw for the first time in my life, I react. I don't simply look at it and say, oh, this was great, nice, and keep scrolling. I don't do that. So I show my reaction. I voice an opinion. I ask a question. I reach out to connect if that's appropriate and needed. So I do that pretty regularly. And I got to say that small steps go a very long way. So it's not about taking a day a week and spending 24/7 on LinkedIn. That would just drive anyone nuts. It's about, you manage your own time. You know how much time you have per day, per week. Just make it simple, make it easy and doable and manageable. Connecting with one new person per couple days, it's doable. It truly is doable. So you don't need to invest too much time in it, or at least you can incorporate that into your daily schedule and make it doable and manageable.
So so you're talking about like training LinkedIn to like the feed, like what you just said, like people are like, I scrolled, I'm like, I don't find anything, like I've got to go, like, because it's just either I get like the same people, I'm like, and it's from like a week ago, or it's just stuff that doesn't matter to me. So somebody like myself, that's happening to, you said like go follow companies or people that you genuinely like, but what else, like what's something else like to really kind of start that if I don't know, like I'm not getting what I want. Yeah, I follow the companies, but I'm not getting what I want. What can you do to kind of like go around, right? Like should you search a hashtag? Should you, search a group? Like what can you do to like maybe find some of those things you do want so you can start to like and follow and connect?
Yeah, that's a great question. You can definitely search a hashtag or a topic and kind of start your search through the content side. So you look for posts that talk about the topics you're interested in. Then from there, you check out who the author of the post is. Is that somebody who like has an interesting background? Is it somebody in your industry? Does that person inspire you in any sort of way? So that's one way to go. And for sure, that's one of the things that I used to do a lot when I was just starting out. The other, I guess a more straightforward thing you can do is search profiles of people who work at the companies where you want to work. And it doesn't mean that you might want to work there tomorrow. Like it could be a more of a long-term strategy. If today you're at point A and you have a very clear, realistic understanding that tomorrow Google probably won't hire you. You're not there yet. It doesn't mean that you cannot follow and engage and look at people who already work at Google and learn what they've done to be hired by Google and learn from their stories, learn from their experiences. So use the filters, the search filters on LinkedIn to find those people, to locate their profiles. And if you do decide to reach out to them and establish that contact, please do not send a blank connection request. Like those just freak me out so much, especially because I get so many of them every single day. And it's like, I have no idea why these people want to connect. I have no idea who they are. Sometimes we have zero shared connections or anything in common. And for some reason, I'm just supposed to like guess why they are reaching out. And I get, like, if you flip the tables, I get where the other person is coming from, because it's not very obvious how to do this. And you're just trying and seeing what sticks. But the problem is that a lot of those blank requests, they just, that's how you get that story. Oh, people ghost me all the time. Well, of course they're going to ghost you. And I don't mean it in a disrespectful way. I just mean it in a realistic kind of way, because you would do the same. Like, you would not reply to a random person with an empty connection request if you don't know why they are reaching out to you. Like, two things: why they're reaching out and why they're reaching out to you. Those are kind of two components that you might be thinking about. So if you are intentional with it and you're strategic about it, then you would actually write a few characters and put a few words in about why you're reaching out to that person. You would take a couple minutes to read through their profile, to notice things about their background, about their experience, education. Maybe you went to the same school, but in different years, whatever that is. You would notice something, and you would mention that in that connection request, so that the person understands that you're not a scammer, you're not about to start selling them on something, and you're also not about to overwhelm them with some big, vague request, as in, help me find a job. Like, that request is incredibly vague and incredibly big for any person to do. So that it's unrealistic to expect people to help you if your ask is so big and so generic. But for establishing that connection, it's very important that you make it personalized. That's what gets people's attention, and that's when they feel safe and okay to reply back, and they don't need to have that awkward silence, and then you on the other end get discouraged because you're doing this all the time and you're not getting any responses. So please don't leave those connection requests blank.
Well, I will have to, give myself and Heather some props then, because I think Anna, when we reached out to you, it was like we did attach that message, and you just answered Sarah's question here, right? Is, when you ask to connect with someone, do you have do you recommend a message, or do you have a standard thing you say? And I think, again, you just answered that. This question is yes, you need to put something on there. There is that option when you hit that connect button, is like, do you want to add a note? Please, by all means, like, add a note for sure.
Yeah. And you can also add it on mobile as well, because on mobile, on the app, it's a little bit weird, because if you hit connect, it connects right away. So it actually skips the invite step, like attaching a note, but you can attach it through it like a different function. So you can still reach out with a connection request with a note versus blank. And also don't forget that you can use AI to help you generate some of the content for the messages that you send out to people. Like, our lives became so much easier and so much more fun thanks to AI-based tools. And I use them a lot, and I know that a lot of other people do.
Yeah. And, thinking about like that, sending a message, because that can feel very daunting, especially if you're looking for jobs, you're applying for jobs. It can feel daunting to, okay, now I have to do cover letters and resumes, and now I have to write a message to these people. Like, so you mentioned using AI, but I think too, it sounds like you can kind of have a standard format of what you say, like to introduce yourself. The message will be a little different, but you could, okay, I've looked at their profile. I'm going to connect with them on something. That'll be how I open, or, what brought me to them. And then, kind of that, like, I would love to connect because, and then like your closing. So you have kind of a framework to use. And then for each one, so you're not having to rethink framework every time.
Yeah,
but it is
absolutely.
personalized. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's kind of, that also helps you to give, like, if let's say you're using ChatGPT to help you actually write a message, let's say you don't, like, your writing skills are not great. So you're like, I don't know how to write a great message, but you have a general understanding of why you're reaching out to this person. So you can copy and paste their profile into ChatGPT and ask it to like distill some accomplishments or some things, some features about that person that might be interesting, and you can use them as a hook. But then you can also say, can you help me write a message because I want to, and then you actually say what it is that you truly want. So that way, AI also doesn't come back with like a super vague message that could be copy and pasted all the time 100%, because that's the other thing. I think by now we've all seen so many of those messages that we can right away tell that, oh, okay, this person is copying and pasting this to like hundreds of other people, and for some people that might be okay, but for the majority, not really. So if you take like literally a couple minutes to just look at that profile and think, why is this person interesting to me, and make your message about them, like more about them versus about you, then you can just roll with it. And AI can be a huge help to just get the wording straight and help you just write something a little bit more eloquently maybe, or fit it into fewer words and characters than you would normally do it by yourself.
Awesome. I think, man, AI has changed our lives like so much, but it's made things so much easier. We're coming up on time here, so Anna, like, to close out, what is like the final thing that you would want people to do? Like, what's the next action you want people to take today, as far as getting noticed on LinkedIn, or maybe like, what is the one thing that you want them to do to optimize their profile?
I would say, I mean, there would be so many different actions that I would love to share, but if I had to narrow it down to one, I would say define what kind of value you can offer to others, because that is like a fundamental step. And if you skip it, you might do all the other things right. Like you might attach notes and be proactive and do this or that. But if you don't ultimately understand what makes you different and how you can add value to people in different capacities, not just as an employee, but as a connection on LinkedIn, as a candidate, like as a prospective co-worker, whatever that is. So if you don't understand that, things are going to get really uncomfortable and really difficult on LinkedIn. So really sitting down and asking yourself, what kind of value can I offer to companies? So not only thinking about what it is that I want, but okay, what's in it for other people? Like that's such a seemingly simple question, but from my experience working with job seekers and amazing professionals who they're so talented and they're so skilled, but it's just hard for them still to define what makes them different and what kind of value they can add to other people. So that's where I would start, and everything from there would be a lot more strategic and a lot more aligned, and have the potential to get you a much better ROI.
Awesome. Well, Anna, thank you again so much for joining us here on the Hire Me podcast. Tell people, what are you working on right now, and where can they connect with you beyond LinkedIn?
So I'm on LinkedIn. Feel free to connect with me there. That's my number one go-to platform these days. I'm in the middle of sharing a video series of 30 ways how ChatGPT can make your job search easier. So that's something that a lot of people might find helpful and valuable. At least that's the response that I've been getting so far. And I'm exactly in the middle of it, so there'll be more coming. I also have a YouTube channel where there's a bunch of different videos that people have used to prepare for interviews or to optimize their LinkedIn profiles as well. So you can always follow me on YouTube. But yeah, LinkedIn is my go-to. So please feel free to reach out and connect. And thank you so much for having me today. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Again, thank you.
Yes, thank you. This was amazing. I'm like, man, I could talk to you for so much longer. Again, I took notes. That's what I was doing. So thank you, Anna, so much for this great information. And we'll definitely make sure that we'll try to share some of that information too, as we see it to our audience, because the more that we can, help the people that, follow Hire Me, that's our goal. Anything that we can share to help them, and your content will absolutely do that.
Awesome. I'm super happy, and thank you so much for today.
Thank you. Yeah. So again, if you want to connect with Anna, if you're listening or watching this afterwards, we'll put it in the show notes. It's up here on the screen right now. Her YouTube is also up here if you would like to connect and follow her there. Heather, that was so cool. I yeah, I was
I'm over here rethinking all of my strategy right now. I'm like, okay, what value do I offer?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's hard. Let's see. and I think about this too, because I've thought about that question before, of what value do I offer? And you can get stuck in your own head when you think about this. And so I've actually gone to friends and trusted peers to say, hey, I'm really kind of stuck here. When you think about me and what I offer, what do you see? And that way it can kind of help unblock that thought process for you a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I think defining your goals that's such a critical core function for everything that we do, just not even in business but our personal lives. Having that and applying that to LinkedIn is so important as well, because I think a lot of people, and myself included, originally I was just spray and pray, and you just I'm going to do all the things and hope something sticks, right? That spaghetti against the wall approach doesn't exactly work. One person might get lucky, but yeah. All right. Heather, go ahead. Yeah.
Sorry. See, I get excited and all these things come to my head. When Anna was talking about sending those messages and making it personalized, I do remember when I was going through my job search and went to a LinkedIn optimization webinar or whatever. They were talking about, hey, when you connect with people and you put that message in, well, then if you see them later that they're a connection, you can go to your message and you can remember why. Hey, I met you at this conference, or we were in this webinar together, or we went to the same school, whatever that is. It's actually a reference to help you remember how and why you connected with them. So
I've used that tip all the time, because I'm always I don't remember when or why I met you, but then I'll like scroll back up to my messages and be like, all right, like that's how we met. And like I'll restart the conversation from there. So yeah, well, fantastic. So again, if you are interested in connecting with Anna here, I'll pull up her information one more time. Connect with her. Don't forget to send that little note. Don't do it.
Tell
Don't
her,
like,
tell her
yeah,
you saw her
yeah,
on Hire Me podcast.
yeah, exactly. And again, make sure you subscribe and follow her on LinkedIn and on YouTube. And this is where I will plug us as well. Make sure you are subscribed and following everything that we are doing here on the Hire Me podcast, right? We are on YouTube, we are on LinkedIn. We have surpassed, we are in the fives now. We are at 50 plus YouTube subscribers and over 500 LinkedIn followers, which, you know, they're not Mr. Beast numbers, right? They're not like PewDiePie numbers or all of those other people, but we are growing, and we've only been doing this for just a few months. So I'm very proud of what we're at. Again, the Hire Me podcast is here to elevate today's top talent by creating free video resumes for job seekers. So if you or you know someone who is job seeking and they're just struggling to stand out, take out your phone and just scan the QR code that's up on the screen right now. If you're listening to us, make sure that we'll put our links down in the descriptions, and you can get booked for a free 15-minute video resume recording. Again, Heather is on the East Coast, I'm on the West Coast, and we would be happy to have you. Heather, it's Friday. What last thoughts?
Oh, it's Friday. I'm excited. Yeah, no, everybody, thanks so much for all the support, the great questions, the great interaction. Please keep sharing. Please keep, coming back. We really appreciate you. And yeah, this would be weird if nobody watched.
Well, we know that you all, so many of you are watching. I like pulled it up on both YouTube and LinkedIn, and I know there's some of you out there that are watching still right now. So we have a little number here on like the upper left, and it shows us a number of people watching. So thank you again for sticking around. Again, my name is Chris. She's Heather Balcerek. Thank you. Take care.
Yeah. See you next Friday.